The woman slapped me before dessert arrived. Not hard enough to hurt, hard enough to silence 40 people. The entire banquet hall froze. Forks stopped moving. Conversations died. A violinist actually stopped playing mid-song, and standing in front of me, red-faced and shaking with fury, was my son-in-law's mother. The strange part? I had never met her before. My name is Arthur Keane, 69 years old, retired bridge engineer, widower, father of one daughter. Until that evening, I thought family problems were usually simple. People lied, people argued, eventually somebody apologized. Life moved on. I was wrong. The banquet celebrated my daughter Olivia's 5th wedding anniversary. Not hers and mine, hers and her husband Brandon. His family rented an entire country estate for the occasion. Sting lights, live music, hundreds of guests, a kind of event designed more for photographs than memories. 2 weeks before the celebration, Olivia called me, not to invite me, to warn me. "Dad, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" She hesitated, then said something ridiculous. "Brandon's parents think you hate them." I laughed. "That's impossible. I've never met them, I know." "Then how could they think that?" Another pause, longer this time. "Someone told them you've been saying things." "What things?" "That they're arrogant, that they bought Brandon's career, that they're social climbers." I almost dropped the phone, because I'd never said any of it. Not once, not privately, not publicly, not ever. Who told them this? It doesn't matter. Of course it matters. "Dad, please." The word came out sharp, desperate. "They want an apology." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "They want me to apologize." For words I never said? "I know it isn't fair. There is no fair in this conversation." She started crying, actually crying. "Brandon's mother is threatening not to attend. The family is fighting. Everyone is blaming me. Can you please just do this one thing?" There are moments in life when you know you're being manipulated, and moments when someone you love is so overwhelmed. You agree anyway, not because they're right, because you're tired. Against my better judgment, I said yes. The anniversary dinner arrived. I wore my best suit, practiced an apology I didn't mean, and spent the entire drive wondering what kind of people demanded apologies from strangers. Then came the slap. The woman standing over me looked furious, humiliated, almost betrayed. "What is wrong with you?" she shouted. I stared at her, completely confused. Then she grabbed my arm, pulled me away from the table, away from the guests, away from my daughter, toward a side hallway. The moment the doors closed behind us, everything changed. Her anger vanished instantly, like somebody switched it off. She checked both directions, made sure nobody followed, then looked directly into my eyes, and whispered, "Arthur, I need you to keep smiling." "What?" "Act embarrassed, act confused, act offended, anything. Just don't go back in there yet." I stepped backward. "Why?" The woman took a deep breath, then said the last thing I expected. "Because your daughter isn't the victim here." My stomach dropped. She looked toward the banquet hall, toward Olivia, and quietly added, "She's the one who's been lying to everyone." For several seconds, I couldn't speak. The hallway suddenly felt much smaller, much quieter, much colder. "Excuse me?" I finally managed. Brandon's mother, her name was Whitmore, looked exhausted, not angry, not offended. Exhausted, like someone who'd spent months carrying a secret she hated. "Your daughter told you we demanded an apology." "Yes, we didn't." I stared at her. "Then why am I here?" Lorraine laughed, a bitter laugh. "Because Olivia told my family you've spent 5 years insulting us." My heart started pounding. What exactly did she say? Lorraine pulled out her phone, opened a folder, dozens of screenshots, Mars, docs, text conversations. She handed me the phone. The first message made my stomach twist. According to Olivia, I had called Brandon's father an arrogant fool. The second message claimed I'd said Brandon's mother bought her social status with money. The third message claimed I refused to attend family gatherings because I thought the Whitmores were beneath me. Every message carried the same source. My dad said, my dad thinks, my dad told me. None of it was true. Not one word. I looked up. "Why didn't you confront me?" Lorraine smiled sadly. "Because every time we tried, Olivia stopped us." Apparently Olivia always had an explanation. I was grieving. I was stressed. I was embarrassed. I was too proud. I was too old-fashioned. Excuses, endless excuses. For 5 years, she had acted as translator between two families, and neither family realized. The translator was rewriting every conversation. I felt sick. Why would she do this? Lorraine didn't answer immediately because she already knew, and she hated the answer. Watch the room. She pointed toward the banquet hall, through the glass doors. I could see Olivia moving between tables, laughing, greeting guests, accepting compliments, receiving attention. Everyone watched her, always her. She likes being needed. Lorraine said quietly, not loved, needed. I frowned. What does that mean? It means conflict keeps her in the center. Then Lorraine started telling me things I never knew. How Olivia constantly carried stories between family members. How arguments appeared out of nowhere. How misunderstandings always seemed to involve her. How she somehow became the peacemaker every time. The hero, the fixer, the victim, sometimes all three at once. And suddenly, memories started resurfacing. Friends I'd lost contact with. A cousin who stopped calling. A neighbor who once accused me of insulting him. Arguments that never made sense. Conversations that felt incomplete. For years, I thought getting older simply meant drifting apart from people. Now I wasn't so sure. Then Lorraine said something that hit harder than the slap. We only discovered it last month. Discovered what? She opened another message. This one wasn't about me. It was about Brandon. A fabricated story, supposedly from Brandon's father. A cruel insult, something deeply personal. Except Brandon's father never said it. The message came from Olivia, just like the others. My daughter wasn't creating misunderstandings accidentally. She was manufacturing them, deliberately. I leaned against the wall, trying to process everything. Then the banquet doors opened. A nervous young woman stepped into the hallway, maybe 26, beautiful, professional, clearly uncomfortable. Mrs. Whitmore, she whispered. Lorraine immediately turned. What happened? The woman swallowed. Olivia just announced something. Neither of us liked the sound of that. What announcement? The woman looked directly at me, then said, she just told everyone her father finally admitted he lied about the Whitmore family, and that's why he's apologizing tonight. My chest tightened because I hadn't apologized yet, and suddenly I realized my daughter wasn't trying to end a lie. She was about to build an even bigger one. I walked back into the banquet hall, slowly, not angry, not shouting, not rushing. And that made all the difference because Olivia expected a scene. She expected emotion, confusion, an apology, maybe even tears. What she didn't expect was silence. Every guest turned toward me, more than 100 faces waiting. Watching, Olivia stood near the stage holding a champagne glass. Perfect posture, perfect smile, perfect victim. There he is, she announced. Dad wants to say a few words. The room applauded politely. I climbed the stage steps, took the microphone, and looked directly at my daughter. Then I smiled. Olivia is right. The room grew quiet. I do have something to say. Her shoulders relaxed immediately. She thought she'd won. 5 years ago, I began. My daughter told me Brandon's family thought I hated them. Across the room, Brandon's father frowned. Tonight, I discovered something interesting. Olivia's smile weakened slightly. Nobody in the Whitmore family ever believed that. Now the room was completely silent. I wasn't speaking loudly. I didn't need to. Apparently, I continued. The only person who kept repeating those stories was Olivia. The smile vanished. Not dramatically, just disappeared. Guests exchanged confused looks. Brandon stood. Olivia, he said quietly. She ignored him. Instead, she looked at me, the way people look at someone who has suddenly become dangerous. Dad, she warned. I kept talking. According to Olivia, I insulted Brandon's parents. I looked toward Lorraine. Never happened. I looked toward Brandon's father. According to Olivia, you insulted me. He immediately shook his head. No, exactly. Murmurs spread through the room. For the first time all evening, people weren't looking at Olivia with admiration. They were looking at her with questions. Then Brandon spoke again. Show them. Olivia turned pale because she knew exactly what he meant. Brandon walked to the stage carrying his phone, then connected it to the giant presentation screen behind us. The anniversary slideshow vanished. Screenshots appeared. Messages, .mouse, .texts, years of them. Every story, every accusation, every insult, every family conflict, and every single one traced back to the same source. Olivia. Gasps erupted throughout the room. An aunt covered her mouth. A business partner muttered, "Oh my God." Someone else whispered, "She told me Arthur hated Brandon." Another voice, "She told me Brandon hated Arthur." Another, "She told me Lorraine was jealous of her." Another, "She told me you were all fighting." The realization spread table by table, like dominoes falling. The arguments, the grudges, the distance, the resentment. Years of family conflict, most of it manufactured by one person, Olivia. She grabbed the microphone. "You're twisting everything." Nobody answered, because nobody needed an explanation anymore. The evidence was sitting 20 feet tall behind her. Then something unexpected happened. Lorraine walked onto the stage, not to attack Olivia, not to humiliate her. She simply looked at the crowd, then said, "You all think tonight is about lies." She shook her head. "No, it's about money." The room froze, even Olivia, because that wasn't where anyone expected this conversation to go. Then Lorraine pulled a folded envelope from her purse, and suddenly, for the first time all evening, Olivia looked genuinely frightened. The envelope wasn't thick, just a few sheets of paper, yet the moment Olivia saw it, the color drained from her face. Lorraine held it up, not dramatically, not for attention, simply because everyone deserved the truth. 3 months ago, Lorraine said, "My husband and I decided to retire." The room listened. "We planned to sell our company. We planned to move overseas, and we planned to divide part of our estate while we were still alive." Several guests nodded, nothing unusual so far. Then Lorraine opened the envelope, and one of the people being considered was Olivia. Silence, because suddenly everyone understood. This wasn't about hurt feelings. This wasn't about family drama. This wasn't about misunderstandings. This was about money, a lot of money. Lorraine removed a document. $5 million. The room erupted. Someone actually dropped a wine glass. 5 million, not inheritance after death, not someday, immediately. A family advancement trust, creed for future grandchildren and family businesses. Olivia had known about it, not officially, not because Lorraine told her, because she'd been secretly reading Brandon's emails for years. The room grew even quieter. Brandon looked sick. "I changed my password 6 months ago," he said. Lorraine nodded. That's when she panicked. Everything suddenly made sense. The timing, the escalating drama, the constant conflicts. Olivia wasn't creating chaos for attention anymore. She was isolating people, separating families, making herself the indispensable bridge between both sides. Because if everyone depended on her, nobody would question her. And if nobody questioned her, nobody would notice what she was doing behind the scenes. Then Lorraine revealed the final piece. 3 months earlier, the trust committee had voted, not unanimously, but overwhelmingly, against Olivia, not because of money, not because of background, not because they disliked her, because every business partner who interacted with her reached the same conclusion. She thrived on conflict, and conflict destroys families. The trust had been redirected, every dollar, not to Olivia, not to Brandon, to educational foundations for future descendants, controlled by independent trustees, untouchable, permanent. The exact moment Olivia learned that decision, the lies intensified. She'd been trying to regain influence ever since, trying to position herself as the victim, the peacemaker, the misunderstood daughter, the suffering wife, whatever role created leverage. Olivia suddenly grabbed her purse, then headed toward the exit. No speech, no denial, no explanation. She knew it was over. Halfway across the room, she stopped, turned around, and looked directly at me. For a moment, I saw the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders, the child who laughed at everything, the daughter I would have protected from anyone. Then the moment passed, because that girl had been gone for a very long time. "Are you happy now?" she asked. The room waited for my answer. I thought carefully, then shook my head. No. The honesty surprised everyone, including Olivia. I'm not happy. I looked around the banquet hall, at relatives who hadn't spoken in years, at friendships destroyed by rumors, at families divided over things that never happened. Happy would have been never standing here at all. Nobody spoke. Then I handed the microphone back to Lorraine and walked off the stage, because revenge wasn't what happened next. Consequences were, within a year, Brandon filed for divorce. Not because of one lie, because of hundreds. Several business partnerships ended. Multiple relationships Olivia had manipulated collapsed under scrutiny. And eventually, people stopped believing stories that only existed when she was present. As for me, something unexpected happened. Lorraine called a week later, then again the following month. Then Brandon's father invited me fishing. A strange thing occurs when lies disappear. People finally get a chance to meet each other. Without a translator, without manipulation, without someone rewriting every conversation. 2 years later, I attended another family gathering, smaller, quieter, far happier. At one point, Lorraine laughed and said, "Can you believe we almost spent 5 years hating each other?" I smiled. No. Then I raised my glass to finally having the same conversation. And for the first time in a very long while, everyone at the table was hearing the exact same words.